Hey, legends, and welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur 101 from concept to exit and everything in between. Listen, we've got a great guest on the show today. Joe Nicassio is a business coach and mentor. He calls himself a laptop nomad, so I had to ask where he's joining us from. Today, he's joining us from Texas, Arlington, Texas. And I got to tell you about Joe. Joe is the creator of the Employee Escape Plan, the Business Happiness Blueprint, the Wisdom Quest. He's also an author of the Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit. Joe has advised over 4,000 business owners to help them grow their existing businesses and has mentored over hundreds of new entrepreneurs to creating their business from scratch. With that being said, Joe, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Reggie. Anything about helping people start or grow their business, I'm game for it. I love doing this stuff.
Well, that's great, and that's why when I came across you, I was more than excited when you agreed to be on the show, because there's a lot of, like you and I just talked about a little bit there before. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of gurus, and there's a lot of Instagram or TikTok people who make you think that they know what's going on, and sometimes it takes a bit to get through all the noise. So I'm glad to have you on. So, Joe, normally I try to dig into people's background a little bit to find out a little bit about them and show the listeners, listen, a lot of entrepreneurs are just ordinary, everyday people. They didn't come from special background. They didn't grow up with a golden spoon in their mouth. Some did. Most didn't, from my experience. So I do want to learn a little bit about your background. And I know a lot of, what put you on this path was you were an electrical engineer, made some money, lost some money, and maybe had an aha moment that, kind of led you to this path. So can you let the listeners know a little bit about your background and what got you onto the path you are?
Sure. I was born in Linwood, California, which is right next to Watts, in 1961.
Okay.
My parents didn't feel it was necessarily the safest area, so they ended up buying a home in the Inland Empire, kind of away from the city. And I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, Altaloma, went to Altaloma High School. I had a lot of interest in electronics. I took all the electronics classes, and I ended up having a job as an electronics technician, and took a lot of electrical engineering classes and had engineering jobs.
Right.
So I made $1 million in technology. I worked really hard for a long time, and I hustled, and I made a lot of money. But it all kind of crashed and burned. Technology cycles can be brutal. So, if you're, selling a hot technology today,
Right.
it might be an antiquated technology, a week from today. And
Absolutely.
So, I got caught up in that. I didn't see all the signs on the wall, and I crashed and burned pretty hard. Went through some depression. One of the most difficult days of my life was
Right.
the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health saying I'm depressed and I need help. But also simultaneously, though, during that time, I ended up being around a guy named Jay Abraham. I went to a paid event. It was $5,000. I didn't have any money then. I lost everything.
Right.
But I went to this $5,000 event with $500 deposit on a credit card. It was mind blowing. I was part of my depression, just a clue that, one definition of depression is anger turned inward. I was angry at myself for that big failure.
Sure.
I had a pretty dark cloud over my head. So anyway, I went to this Jay Abraham thing and learned a lot about marketing. So smart in marketing, smart in electronics and technology, kind of dumb in marketing.
Right.
And, I ended up, my mind was blown. I learned some amazing things. I thought the purpose of a business was to create cool technology, but I learned the purpose of a business is to create a human customer. And I had, a transformational experience. And after that event, Jay's office called me and said, want to come to the next event? I said, I'd love to, but I'm still trying to pay for the one.
Right.
And they said, we know. Can you barter? Now this was like, what do you need? Like, I don't know, what can I do? And
Yeah.
they said, we need transcription. So they sent me boxes and boxes of audio cassette recordings of like 25, 30 years of Jay Abraham marketing business think tanks.
Wow.
and I listened to these things and took them from audio to yellow pad, and then from yellow pad, I'm not a good typist. I hunt and peck. I summarize these things up, but I listened, I wrote, I typed, and I got these things into Jay's office. And those transcriptions ended up going in the J. Abraham Marketing Encyclopedia.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I learned a lot, and I learned a lot. I've also studied like 19 different selling systems. So somehow, I think one of the things that really motivated me, Reggie, was before, when I was making the money, I was chasing the money.
Yeah.
But after I lost everything, I to hell with that. I don't want to ever fail again. I need to chase the wisdom
Right.
and the truth, and so that was in the mid 90s. And ever since then, I've been an obsessive compulsive quest for the truth of what works in business.
Right.
There's a lot of misinformation. I think there's a lot of struggle because people have wacky ideas about what it takes to succeed in business. And so anyway, this midlife crisis kind of turned into a midlife calling, and I made a decision to become a marketing consultant. So I've just told you a lot. Let me spit to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Now, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on. So can you just let the listeners who may not know, give them a brief overview? Who is Jay Abram, and why was it such an honor for you? Because I think it was like 7 years you spent, working with them. So who is this Jay Abram guy, just for those who may not know?
Well, Jay Abraham is truly a marketing genius. He wrote some reports called Your Marketing Genius at Work. He's like Montessori for business. He's quite possibly the top or in the top 5 marketing geniuses on the planet. He's the $30 billion man. I mean, he's helped other people make over 30 billion, through his counsel.
Right.
He's a walking thesaurus. He's brilliant. He's got this ability to make like a singular recommendation to somebody that if you do that thing that he recommends, you might go off and make another, $1.2 million like that.
Right. Yeah. And that's amazing that, a man like yourself who, like you said, didn't have the $5,000 to go on, but they actually reached out to you and asked you to barter. Now, had you ever done transcription before? Why would they think that that'd be something you could do?
Well, I'll tell you what, I never did transcription before. And for me, it was like a wax on, wax off type experience. I didn't know what I was learning, but I was learning business karate,
Right.
I can channel Jay Abraham because his voice is in my head.
Right.
I can embody it. And, I've had people that I've been able to do that kind of consulting with that, I make one recommendation. I had a client come to me, and he was making $3,000 a month, and I gave him a piece of advice at lunch, and he took action on that advice, and his income instantly jumped from $3,000 a month to $24,000 a month.
Wow.
Okay. I've got those kind of success stories. So, Jay's a genius. I couldn't have asked for a better mentor. I've been blessed with many mentors, but in terms of just getting some really solid fundamentals about marketing, I'll tell you too, I used to troubleshoot high-tech electronics.
Right.
And now today I troubleshoot businesses and business owners, business processes, marketing processes. So that electrical engineering stuff didn't go to waste. That ability to diagnose in detail, precision is a really it's a superpower that I have. And I don't know if you've ever seen that TV show House.
Yeah.
House is the guy. It's like guy comes to the hospital, they're sick, and they diagnose the person and they give him medication. He gets sicker because they misdiagnose what's going on. And I feel like I'm the House of business troubleshooting. I'm the guy that's going to say, what is the real problem? Sometimes the problem you think is the problem isn't the problem at all.
Right.
So let's make sure, it's malpractice to give a prescription without a proper diagnosis first. So let's get really good at our diagnostic skills. I think a lot of people struggle in business because they're they're misdiagnosing the root cause of their problems.
Right, absolutely, and we're going to get to that in a little bit as well. But there was two things you brought up that I wanted to touch on. Um, you had success with a mentor. How important do you believe it is for entrepreneurs or anybody who's looking to start a business, whether it's a side hustle or whether it's something they want to get rid of their day job? How important do you believe mentorship is?
If you have the right mentor, it's invaluable.
Right.
We live in a time when, coach is kind of a diluted, the good news is anyone can be a coach, and the bad news is anyone could be a coach.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of incompetent, I don't want to name any names or anything, but
no, for sure.
Make sure that whoever you're working with, there's three things to look for in a mentor. Number one, what have they done personally? I made $1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Also come back. Okay. Here I am, I've also been mentored by brilliant people. So number one, if you're looking at somebody to be a mentor, what have they done for themselves?
Right.
Who are they mentored by? Like, what is their source of knowledge coming from?
Yeah.
And the third one, I think the third one's the most important one. What kind of client results do they have? It's one thing that I've made $1 million.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But how many of your clients are also following in your footsteps?
Right.
And I think that, the new client results is the new marketing. If people hire you and they get results, and then somebody else hires you and they get results, and you've got a good system, you'll notice behind me is a system.
Right.
And it's a system I use it's a superior system for helping create a business that works.
Right.
If your system works over and over and over again, and you get client results is the new marketing. And I really believe that time will either promote you or expose you. So mentors are amazing if you get ones that are competent and they actually have a track record of helping others succeed.
Right. And I think it's great that you shared those three things to look for, because I know a lot of people are, I see it all the time, right? Where can I find a mentor? How can I get a mentor? And nobody tells you, yeah, what should you look for in a mentor? So now, do you believe, and this is something you gave, and I mean, they offered it to you, but if you're looking to work with a mentor, do you find that you should have something of value to be able to give them?
Absolutely. If you don't have the right to even ask for help.
Right.
You can't expect to receive if you're not willing to give.
Right.
Giving and receiving are connected, and to receive without giving is bad karma. It's bad juju. It's like, teach me all your stuff, but I'm not going to do anything for you.
Right.
That don't work. That's matter of fact, one of the things I do have the chance to talk to some pretty impoverished people. I've got over 6,000 people from Pakistan reached out to me. Somebody endorsed me over there.
Oh, wow.
And he sent me all these people that couldn't afford to hire me. They all want my help and none of them want to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my pieces of advice to that group is the hungrier you are, the more generous you need to become, the more of a giver you need to become. Because if you're not receiving much, it's because you're not giving much, and you need to learn to give powerfully, give with wisdom, be a massive contribution to the people you serve. Because when you clench your fists and you tighten up, the size of the hole you receive for is in direct proportion to the size of the hole you give through. And if you're not receiving much, it's because you're not giving much, and you need to be, have more wisdom around giving.
Right. Yeah, that's valuable advice right there. And I've had some guests on who were, the epitome of givers, who expected nothing in return, but knew, it would come back through karma or whatever you want to call it, right? So that definitely, being able to give is probably more important than being able to pay, because money only gets you so far, right? It's the other things that are going to get you where you need to be.
I would just say choose your battles wisely. Don't give foolishly. Don't give to people that, here's a really good shortcut in life. Give to the givers, because givers are wired to give back.
Right.
There are takers, and they will take and they will take and they will take, and they won't give back. So you got to have wisdom with where you give, who do you give and when do you give? And do you give to somebody because they beg? That's probably not the right reason to give.
Right.
So give with wisdom, choose your battles wisely. pray about it. I will give based on promptings of the Holy Ghost, but I won't give because somebody's begging me, and they don't want to give back. So
Right, right. Yeah, and I think unfortunately too many people have been burnt by those takers. The givers are probably, whether it's a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1. I think there's more takers than there's givers, and you gotta keep looking for the right one. We're all going to get burnt at some point in our lives, but you just don't give up. Just keep looking and be a little smarter, like you said, right? Make sure that they have the credentials to back it up. So now one thing you mentioned, and probably a lot of the listeners have never heard, you said you learned 19 different selling systems. Most people
yeah.
are like, what are you talking about? Isn't sales just sales? So excuse me, I don't want to get, we could probably spend the rest of the show talking about the 19 different selling systems, but can you kind of maybe just give an overview of what's the difference in a selling system, and when would somebody maybe use one over another?
Yeah. Some sales schools are very, you can learn sales from a used car salesman.
Right.
Okay. And you're going to learn those patterns. You could also learn sales from a jeweler. Okay. Now, the
Right.
way a jeweler sells, what if, jeweler, it's like, say you go to buy a watch and you buy it from either a jeweler or Best Buy. You go into Best Buy and it's like just laying under this glass case, like here's the watches. You go into a jewelry store, that same watch is behind glass. It's sitting on a like velvet pillow, they put on the white gloves and then they unlock the case and
Right.
they present it differently, so there's this idea of packaging. If we package Reggie in a brown paper bag versus Reggie in a powder blue Tiffany box, it's the same Reggie.
Right.
So, but there's different, Tom Hopkins has a sales training that I went to, and it was very good for me at the time. But it's not the only way of selling. I've been through 52 weeks of Sandler sales training, the President's Club, and it's a very unconventional way of looking at sales. Ari Galper has a training course called Unlock the Game that's really about this idea that you do not want to be positioned as the salesperson. Okay, that's if somebody perceives that you're a salesperson, then they are going to lie to you. They're not gonna be straight with you. They're gonna try and get the most for the least. And
Right. They're going to have their guard up as well.
Jay Abraham talks about, the strategy of preeminence. Do not be known as the salesperson or the marketer. Be known as the trusted advisor. I will never steer you wrong.
Right.
Like you are, there's a difference between a customer and a client. A customer is somebody who spends money with you. A client is somebody who's under your care and protection. So even though I know lots about marketing and I know
Yeah.
lots about sales, I really want to be known as the trusted advisor. Like Joe won't steer me wrong.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot of different approaches. And, I think ultimately we need to find what works for you. And what's common knowledge to you might be profound revelation to someone else that doesn't have it. So a
Right.
little shift in your approach could make a profound difference.
Absolutely. Because, and depending on, like you say, whether you're selling fine jewelry or a car, different approaches work with different people. So it's good to have more than one tool in your toolbox, I guess, so to speak, right? Because what worked with one person may not work with that next person who walks through the door.
It's good that I have a lot of different approaches. It's like almost like, say we're in a room and we're looking at a bicolored balloon. I'm looking at it and going, it's blue, and you're looking at it, it's like it's red, and it's like the truth is if we get a little different angle on it, we'll actually find that we're both right and we're both wrong. It's a
Right.
bicolored balloon.
Right.
Okay. And so, I think that by studying this, and I guess maybe I studied a lot because it was an area I wanted to conquer. And I think I was very shy and introverted when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And so I really kind of sucked at this stuff. So when I wanted to figure it out, I got obsessed with it and just kind of went deep down those those rabbit
The
holes.
rabbit holes, right? Yeah. Well, as long as you're retaining the, you know what, it doesn't hurt to get down a rabbit hole as long as you're bringing something back out of it. Too many people get down them, and you can, say social media is terrible for that. We get on social media. The next thing we know, what hours gone by, and what did we do? We just wasted an hour of our time. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need to shut the brain off and just let, shit flow, whether it's just for entertainment's sake. But I think way too many times now we get sucked into those rabbit holes, and they're eating up that valuable time.
Well, I've gotten clients through social media. I've gotten people through face to face. One of the things Tom Hopkins taught was STP 20, which was see the people, see 20 people a day, belly to belly.
Okay.
And there's things you can do on social media, but you can't shake a hand and you can't look somebody straight in the eye. And
Right.
there's something powerful about that face to face transaction. And I think if you're having struggles in your business, maybe the best thing you need to do is close up your computer and get face to face with people and really actually connect and care. And Reggie, we live in a world where a lot of people just don't care.
Right.
And so if you're a
Absolutely.
caring person in a non-caring world, it's almost like a superpower.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be, you when you're a caring person as well in a non-caring world, like you said, you've got to grow a tough skin because it can be way too easy to let the non-caring, it's like, well, I can't beat them, so I might as well join them. And you gotta build up that resiliency to say, you know what, okay, I can't reach everybody, but I'm going to keep trying to reach the ones that I can, because that's what I'm here for.
Well, and honestly, I'm so glad that I studied so much marketing, because the harder my marketing works, the easier my selling goes. Okay.
Right.
So like, I don't want to reach out to people. I want people reaching out to me,
Absolutely.
and so I always say this: it's better to kiss a girl who's leaning into you than a girl who's leaning away from you. And
Right.
it's really true in business too.
Right.
And so if your marketing is doing a good job and people get a little bit of excited about working with you from the marketing, by the time that they inbound schedule a sales appointment with you, they're actually pretty interested. And so they're leaning into you. The energetics of inbound marketing are so much better than the energetics of outbound marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And so I want to market. I want to do inbound. I want to do outbound marketing, but I want to do inbound selling. I want people to raise their hand. When they raise their hand, I want to strike up a little mini conversation with them to I want them to see my stuff. I want them to raise their hand, and then I want to get to know the desires of their heart.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I feel that the desires of their heart are something that I can help fulfill, then I want to get face to face with them so we can have a real conversation. And I'll tell you what, something that really takes a lot of the pressure and the yuckiness out of selling. There is a lot of yuckiness in selling. If you're trying to get sales, there's some yuckiness, because if you get a sale, you win, but if you don't get a sale, you lose. And so one of the things I've learned to do is shift the agenda. Stop trying to get the sale. There's a sales agenda where you win every time.
Okay.
And so instead of trying to get the sale, what you want to do is get to the truth of a good fit. You want to be a fit finder.
Okay.
If the truth is it's a good fit, you win. And if the truth is it's not a good fit, you win also, because you win every time you get to the truth.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there's a healthy way. To me, closing a sale is helping people make decisions that are wise for them. Okay. I think one of the most powerful shifts you can make is relationship over revenue.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm here to help you make a decision that's the best decision for you. Okay. And when I put your needs and the quality of the relationship over my need to make a buck, then you're going to close a lot more sales, because you're actually you have the client's best interests at heart.
Right. And that goes back to where you said, after things failed, you stopped chasing the money and started chasing the truth. Because if you get to the truth, the money's going to come.
That's right. Would you rather have $1 million or the wisdom about money?
Right.
A
Right.
lot of people want the $1 million,
Absolutely.
and they really don't. They don't know what they're missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
That's
don't know
awesome.
what they don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, and that kind of segues into what I was just going to say here, because we talked earlier. I think it might have been before we even started recording, about how 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years, and I know your thought on that is it's hard to run a successful business when you don't know how to run a successful business. It's kind of the you don't know what you don't know. So maybe let's talk about some of the mistakes, because you've dealt with a lot of people, and I'm sure there's some common mistakes that you see that people are making that you just say, you know what, stop it, stop doing that, stop following that school of thought or whatever it is that got you there. What are some of the common mistakes you're seeing, new entrepreneurs, not so much established businesses, but new entrepreneurs making?
Yeah. Before I even answer that, I want you to imagine that I made a list of the 10 top reasons why people fail,
Okay.
and you don't do any of those things. I want you to know you can fail, because there's 11 through 99 other ways that you can make a business fail.
Right.
Okay. And so success is inevitable if you do everything right. What are some of the mistakes? In my, I have this little diagram behind me. I think the number one reason people fail in business is they're not even in the right business in the first place.
Okay.
They like, oh, I can make money there, and next thing you know, they're in business doing that. I think far too many people are in careers by default, and they're not in a career by design. And the work, I have a program just to how do you figure out what's the right business for me? It's called Business Wisdom Quest. And one of the exercises we do in that program is asking, okay, there's explorer, artist, judge, and warrior. So you
Right.
explore, you gather all the raw materials, and then you're an artist. And the question you ask yourself is, if you had a blank canvas, say you had 5 blank canvases, I want you to create your dream business on paper before you go build anything. And I want you to explore 5 or 6 or 7 different paths. Okay. What
Yeah.
does your dream business look like? How many people do you think go into business say, before I start a business, I'm going to figure out what are all of my choices, and I'm going to ask, what does my dream business look like?
Right.
Most people don't do that.
No. No,
They don't.
they
And
have
so,
shiny object syndrome. They're chasing what they've heard is the hot topic of the day or the best way to make money. And like you say, they're not really chasing what is designed for them.
yeah. And so if you're running in the wrong direction, you don't need a motivator to come along and say, run faster. You need to
Right.
stop, and you need guidance. You need to get your compass out and say, what star am I aiming towards? If you know where you're at and you know where you're aiming, you have a good chance of getting there. And so the first mistake is not even choosing the right business in the first place. So take the time to do the deep dive work. And if you don't know how to go about that, I'd be happy. I have an online program that you can go to
Right.
that'll help you, guide you. But do the work. If you're going to build a building, do you start at the roof?
No.
Where do you start?
That's the foundation.
Yeah, but do you
Oh,
really start there?
the architectural drawings, I guess. The planning.
Yeah, you have a vision and a blueprint.
Right.
Okay. They will not allow you to pour a foundation anywhere without an approved blueprint
Right.
that's up to code. Okay. So why are you building a business without a blueprint? So before you build it in your mind, and then you build it in reality, but don't just jump in and start building it in reality without it. Even the poorest person can create a superior plan. So why not take the time to go into this with a superior plan? So that's definitely one of the reasons people fail. I think another reason people fail in business is they don't have a good offer.
Okay.
You need to have an offer that makes sense. I've got a group coaching program. It's 3 months. It's quarterly billing. It's $9.99, and I guarantee you're going to make your money back and triple it. If you don't, I'll keep working with you until you do. Okay. But we meet every week and we work on our business. So, that offer is digestible and people understand it. But
Right.
you need to have an offer. I think another problem people have is they they got too many things going on. Okay.
Okay.
You go and say, well, what do you do for a living? It's well, I run these 5 different businesses. I've got, I got this soap business, and I've got this horseshoeing business, and I got this tax business. And you know what? The confused mind buys nothing. And what you're doing is you have no branding.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
confused mind buys nothing.
Right.
So if the promise is clear, so for most people, it's find one thing that you can do, epic, that you can charge good money for. The easiest way to make $100,000 is solve somebody's $10,000 problem. For if you have $100,000 problem, I can make it go away for 10,000. That's called a good deal.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. But you want to figure out what's the one problem I solve over and over and over again, which probably leads to the third way people, the third mistake people make in business is, you want to focus on simplicity. Simplicity scales, complexity fails.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So who's your one target market? And what's the one thing you can sell over and over and over again to that market? What's the one way you get in front of those kind of people? What's your one sales conversion process? And what, how can you stick to those things for 1 year without getting distracted by bright, shiny objects?
Right.
That's another way people fail, is they get distracted by a bright, shiny object.
Right. Yeah. Or the next hot marketing, topic or whatever it is. So now on that, what you just mentioned, what do you suggest for people who maybe have, different clientele? Do you still suggest, look, focus on the one, what can you do for them? Get that in line and then focus maybe on the next one? Or do you say, you know what? Stick to one path and follow that path to the end?
Yeah, the first thing is like stick to one. But I got these 5 things going on, it's like you're not sticking to one.
Right.
Man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. Or put another way, you can't ride 2 horses with only one asshole.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's funny. Okay, so yeah,
By the way, you asked that question, how many ways do people fail in business? I actually, one day I sat down, it's like there's this Mensa joke, all the Mensa people sit around, it's like, if we're so smart, why are we so broke?
Right.
And I actually brainstormed one day and I came up with a list of like 67 reasons why smart people fail.
Oh, really?
And it's my own little internal notes. But
yeah.
There's a lot of ways people mess up.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great.
Let me just rattle off a couple of them.
Yeah.
Just I won't go deep.
No.
They trigger distrust in people.
Okay.
They don't enjoy what they do. They're prideful. They have a lack of empathy. They have the wrong offer. They have the wrong product. They mismanage money. They fail to nurture relationships. They lack the leadership. They put money over people. They want to make money, but they don't care about people. They give to the takers. They're a poor storyteller. They're out of alignment. All of their pieces are kind of out of alignment, so they don't really hit the sweet spot. They open relationships poorly. They start on the wrong foot. Okay. They don't ask for this. I mean, I could go on. There's like a lot of ways you could mess up.
Right.
But look, success is inevitable if you do everything right.
and can you do everything right? Or can you do most things right and still be successful? Or does it have to be all or nothing?
I think, there are certain important pieces, probably the 3. One of my mentors, a guy named Taki Moore, talks about attract, convert, deliver. So you got to be really clear about what you deliver.
Yeah.
You got to have marketing that gets people to raise their hand, and you got to be able to close sales. I think you need to get those 3 right. And then another way that I think choosing the right business model could be, the right business model is make and the wrong business model is break. So it's make or break.
Right. Okay. No, that's
Are
great.
you are you trying to get to 100K a month, but you're selling a $20 object? I'll tell you, you got your work cut out for you. That's
Right.
a bad business.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. So you talked about your business wisdom quest and the process called the four hats of creativity. Now, what about the employee escape plan? Because I think you got 6 different pillars in there, if I'm right. And I think we talked about some of them. But when I was looking at it, it looked like it was a 6 P's, and it was planning, positioning, packaging, promotion, persuasion, and performance. And I think we've talked about some of those. But can you go into maybe just a little bit more to talk about, how do I approach those? What's my best,
Well, business employee escape plan was exactly that, the 6 P's.
Right.
Okay. But I created this thing, employee escape plan, to help you escape the job you hate. So if I'm going to help you escape the job you hate, let's help you build the business you love. So this diagram behind me is what's called the business happiness blueprint, which is like employee escape plan 2.0.
Okay.
And so it's about doing what you love for yourself and others. If you just do it, I like laying at the beach. Okay. That's not going to make me money
Right.
because I'm not serving anyone. So you want to do what you love for yourself and others. You want to share the love through your service and good marketing so you can receive the love in the form of appointments and sales and cash and repeat business, gratitude, referrals, video testimonies. There's a lot of things to be received out of a business that works. And
Right.
so employee escape plan is really involved into this whole thing about, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. If you're going to build a business, you might as well enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's all about it's about these 9 things. If you're in the right business, if your branding is solid, like it's very clear what you stand for, and if you've got a good offer, let me move to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
This way. If you've got a good offer, if you're promoting and generating leads, getting people to raise their hand, and if you're nurturing those relationships, okay, and you're inviting people in, then you can start to receive the love in the form of appointments.
Right.
And even if somebody schedules an appointment, they don't buy from you, you're still receiving. They're like blocking time off to talk to you. So I appreciate that you've taken time. Whether or not you become a client, you're still, you've leaned into me. And so I appreciate that.
Right. And sometimes just because people don't buy today doesn't mean that you haven't made that impression where they will come back tomorrow.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I had one of my clients contacted me. I talked to her Wednesday. 2 weeks ago, she gave her notice on her job that she was able to make enough money in the business I helped her start,
That's awesome.
that she was able to give her notice and quit her job. So I'm still working with her and I've got her back. I said, are you totally satisfied with the money you're coming in now that you have the confidence to leave the job? She said, well, partly, but the other part is, if I didn't quit, I would have killed somebody, and killing's not right.
Right. Yeah. 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 It's hard to be a giver when you're doing 20 to life behind bars. So, well, that's good that she noticed that she needed to get out. And so, how much do you believe? And we always hear, and I know I've said it myself, and I think it fits into your wheel there about doing what you're passionate about. Do you believe that is the key to a successful business and key to happiness? Because I often wonder, can everybody's passion actually make money?
Well, no, well, if you're smart about it, it can.
Okay.
You might need some guidance from an expert, because you're passionate about rock climbing doesn't mean you know how to market it and turn that into a business. Tony Hawk built a business on his passion for skateboarding, and
Right.
Martha Stewart, for her passion for cooking and doing things around the house, being a do-it-yourselfer. So I think passion is definitely one of the pieces. But I think there's other things. A lot of people go, well, I don't know what my passion is. And so we need to kind of look at some other areas like what are you proficient at? Are you just really good at something?
Okay. Yeah.
Or it could be problem solving. I know how to solve a problem really well. I'm really good at solving a certain problem. So I can make a profitable business because I'm good at it. And, maybe I enjoy it. Maybe it's not like a full blown passion, but I'm so damn good at it. I could do it in my sleep, so it could be a proficiency. It could be a problem solving. It can also be a proprietary.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe you've developed a unique way of doing things that gets better results than other people. So, passion is a good place, but not everybody, a lot of people have trouble saying, I don't know what my passion is. So it's like, let's hit this thing. I got 100 different angles
From different angles. Right. Yeah.
to figure out what it is for you.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's good to hear those different angles because a lot of people think, okay, well, like you said, I don't know if I can make money at my passion. Well, then let's look at a different angle. And that's great to hear that because, like you say, you don't know what you don't know. So if the only thing you've ever been told is find your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, there's other ways
okay.
around it.
What I would do if somebody says, I'm really passionate about blah, 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 whatever it is,
Yeah.
I would say, okay, who wants to know about that? Like, who's going to like, who wants to know about it bad enough that they'll pay for it?
Right.
I got a client, I got to tell you, I got a client, Sumed Chatterjee. He lives in Kolkata, India, and he hired me. He's got a master's in coaching psychology from a university in London. He was making not so good money doing like kind of creativity coaching, but
Right.
and so I'm going through this process with him. And one of the questions that, it's like, what do you love doing? And he's like, I love going into the flow state, and I'm like, well, have you ever thought about like being a flow state coach or doing, and he's like, you mean I can make a business out of the thing I love doing the most?
Right.
And I'm like, why not? And he started the Flow Zone Academy, and that he's made money with that. He started making more money in that than he was doing. He started having 3K months is not a lot in the US, but in India it's actually really good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's hired me again, and he's got a partner, and they're doing something called Primal Sutra, which is helping men become better men.
Okay.
They're helping men become the priest and the beast, the
Okay.
savage and the shaman and the savage. So,
Right.
if a man is too priestly, he doesn't have his masculine polarity. Okay.
Yeah.
Or a lot of men, they're just like masculine, like, woman, fire, meat,
Right.
they got the beast, but it's not guided by spirituality. And what they're teaching men is to blend the spiritual with the animal. Like we need both.
Yeah. Okay.
And it'll make it more complete and more holistic man. So they're doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Now that right there we just talked about led me into something that I heard you say, and that was you can't make a dollar without making a difference. And I think that right there, that business right there is proving that they're trying to make a difference in men's life. Yeah, absolutely. And because of it, they're making a dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's all. Think about this, Reggie. And this is some real entrepreneur 101 stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
We all spend money on things that make our life better. Why do you go to the nice restaurant instead of eating rice and beans at home? Because it's nice to have life is better to have a home cooked meal or a chef cooked meal.
Right.
Why do you spend money on your mortgage or your rent? Because life is better to have a roof over our head. Why do you spend money getting your brakes fixed on your car? Because life is better when your brakes work, right?
You're right.
Now we could go down a little bit of a dark path. Why do you spend money on the Jack Daniels? Well, that makes my life better. We could have a debate about it.
Yeah.
Maybe in a perception, you perceive it to make your life better, but
right.
that your outtakes from the the movie The Hangover are pretty embarrassing, I
It
think.
it depends how many of those days you got to make better talking to Jack. I think that's what it comes down to.
So look, if we spend, so this is the entrepreneur 101 part here. If we spend money on things that make our life better, now we're in business. What's the most important thing for our marketplace and our prospects to understand about us is when you do business with me, I'm here to make your life better.
Right.
And here's how.
Right.
And people go, oh, that really would make my life, my life really would be better with a new iPhone 14.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? That's why is Apple like one of the top 5 companies on the planet? $1 trillion company.
Right.
Because people feel like an iPhone and their Apple products make their life better.
Yeah.
But why will people do business with Reggie B? Because Reggie B does things that make their life better. Why do people do business with Joe Nicassio? Because 6 months with Joe will take about 30 years off of your business learning curve.
Right.
And that makes your life a whole lot better. I'm a massive contribution to the clients I serve. And as a result, you're a whole lot better by working with me.
Right.
And so it's that, that's an entrepreneur 101 concept that how do you give to make people's life better that they will give back in the form of cash?
Right.
We spend money on things that make our life better. And if we want people to spend money with us, it's very important that we communicate it so people understand, appreciate, desire, lust for, crave what we've got. So they whip out their wallet and their credit cards and they spend money with it.
And I think that, it's funny how everything you're saying is segueing into something I was going to bring up. And I think what you just said there is something I've heard you say as well. And that's stop loving your product or service and start loving your customer.
That's right. And, I learned that from Jay Abraham, most people make the mistake. They fall in love with what we do. We do this and we do that. And, and what you really got is a wee problem.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
People don't care about we, they care, when you work with me, you're going to benefit this way. Here's how your life is going to be better. Here's what you get. Here's what you'll learn. Here's what you'll discover. Here's how you'll be better off. And so fall in love with your customers, fall in love with the fact that, you can make their life better. Now I want to kind of twist one more piece into that. Is
Yeah.
a lot of people are asking, am I worthy of the customer? And you should be asking, is the customer worthy of me?
Okay.
Okay. And so when you really get your systems down, when you've really got, a process that really works, then it's like you can pick and choose who you do business with.
Right.
It's like, I only want 5-star clients. What's a 5-star client? They love me. They pay my fees without complaining. They show up on time. They're responsive. They do the work. They give rock star testimonials. They implement. They report back their winnings. They share. They're coachable. They write good reviews. They give rock star referrals.
Referrals. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I've been really tuning into a lot lately is if you want to attract 5-star or top tier clients, you got to define what does that look like?
Right. Yes. Yeah. You need to know what it looks like for you. And you also need to realize that you can't service everybody. You can't sell a contract to everybody. So you need to know who is my market, and the rest of them, there's a market for them. I'm just not the guy for them.
Yeah. If you're not going to show up on time, if you're not going to do the work, you are not my client.
Right. Right.
If you're not going to, if you're not going to put your whole heart into things, if you're dipping your toes in the water and you're not diving in and making waves, you're not my client.
Right.
And so, and then there's also another piece, and that's a lot of times we get into this sales situation, people say, well, I don't know if I can afford it, and very powerful concept is there's a cost to doing business with me, but there's a cost to not doing business with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually very freaking expensive.
Right.
And so Like, what's it costing you to not build a business? What's it costing you to stay on the soul sucking job? What's
Yeah.
it costing you to run a business where you're only making 3,500 a month when you know you should be making, 9,500 or 10K a month?
Right.
What's it costing you to to play small? Um, there was a great oil man named Red Adair. He was the guy that was known for putting out oil well fires.
Okay.
And he didn't charge by the hour, he charged by the cost of not hiring him. So while, hundreds of, barrels of oil are on fire per minute, what's the cost of letting that fire burn on? You're losing
Right.
all oil revenue.
Right.
So, like, what's it going to cost? What are you willing to pay to get this thing out?
Yeah.
What's the cost of not doing this? So, good strategies. What's your Red Adair pricing strategy? How can you not only talk about your price of doing business with you, but how can you kind of get people to think about what's the price of not doing
Of
business?
not doing business with me. Yeah, that's great.
I don't know
And
if I went down a different rabbit hole
no,
there.
no, that's awesome. That's a different way of thinking that people wouldn't normally hear. So no, that's great. There's no wrong rabbit holes here. Same as there's no wrong paths, right? We just because we have a destination doesn't mean everybody's path is going to be the same. And just because it's not the same doesn't mean we're not going to get there. So no, I think whatever path works for you. And I think one thing I wanted to mention as well too is never be afraid to fire a client, because everybody, like you say, if you're not showing up on time, if you're not putting in the work, I've got people waiting who possibly will and who I'm going to enjoy working with and who I'm not, getting pissed off with because, oh, we just wasted another, half hour because they didn't show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think successful business people get there because they say no more than they say yes.
Right.
They're very selective who they say yes to.
Right. And that's important to
I
know.
don't work with everybody.
Yeah. And that's important to know your no's, to know what is, where you draw the line and not be, oh, yeah, okay, I don't really do this, but yeah, the kids are starving, so I better do this. Well, and then you do it once, then you're going to do it twice, and then they tell a friend, and oh, he did it for me, and then it's hard to get away from doing that.
Yeah. One of the questions I ask, I'll do let me buy an hour of my time conversation with somebody. And then we get near the end and it's like, I'm thinking about possibly taking them on as a client. I have this question. Well, I have two questions. Everybody does something to sabotage their success. What do you do? Because I really want them to look in the mirror and stop blaming and actually take some responsibility. But
Right.
the other question I ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means you're totally committed to your success. What's your number? And like, if they say like I'm a 9, it's like, well, we got a problem. I'm 10 out of 10 committed to your success, and you're 9 out of 10 committed to your success. Why do I care more about your success than you do?
You do. Okay. Yeah.
How could I possibly take you on as a client when you care about your success less than I do?
Right.
We need to fix that. What do we need to do to fix that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great.
That's not. I guarantee results. 6 months with Joe for 10K with a guarantee you're going to make your money back and double it. If you don't hit those numbers, I keep working with you until you do. But if you're not all in, I'm like all in with you. But if you're not even all in with yourself, how can I make good on that guarantee?
How can I get the results if only one of us is putting in the full effort?
Right.
Right.
We're not a half-ass operation. You got to you're going to put your full ass into this.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, listen, you know what, Joe, I could keep going on here, and like I said, I think we're hitting the hour now. So, is there anything that maybe I didn't bring up that you'd like to kind of end this on before I let go? Maybe some words of wisdom that I didn't pull out of you that you'd like to share. And like I say, I could keep going, but I gotta respect your time and the listeners' time. So,
words of wisdom. Well, first of all, you don't have to go at it alone. So if you want the help's available. I think that's always a piece of wisdom. Look, if you don't play your horn, there isn't any music. Okay. And so you got to put your message out into the world. Timid salespeople have skinny kids.
okay.
So you
Right.
can't be timid in business. You got to let the world know what you're up to. That doesn't mean you have to show up, but it does mean putting out videos or putting out content or showing up to networking events. There's a lot of ways to play your horn,
Hmm.
you know. And so and look, you got to follow up with people. I have a friend, Jay Handler. He says a follow without the follow up is stalking.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're gonna like, look, if somebody follows you or see somebody generate, they raise their hand and they're showing interest in your stuff, you know, follow up with people for goodness sake. Develop a relationship. And then maybe one more last thing is, sales is not a numbers game.
Right.
Everybody says sales is a numbers game. And the problem with that is if you treat people like a number, you deserve all the sales you don't get. Sales is about relationships. And make every call, every email, every messenger chat, every video about connecting with people and developing relationship and having some compassion and empathy to really get to know people. If people know how much you care, if they don't care, but if they know how much they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, like, if you really connect with people and you have a relationship with you, that relationship can turn into revenue.
Right.
Okay. But you always connect with people at a personal level before you connect at a business level. Just care about people.
Right.
Like being there's a guy named Joel Roberts that said, I'm mixing a lot of ideas here, but
That's okay.
he said that credibility is your expertise blended with your humanity. And so if you're really expert at something, but you don't have humanity, you don't care about people, it
Yeah.
actually lowers your credibility. So it's good to be an expert, but if you blend that in with actually caring about people, it boosts your credibility and a lot more people want to work with you.
That's great. And that in itself is a skill. So you've definitely give people, a lot to inner reflect on and some places to maybe figure out, okay, this is where I need to strengthen myself. So listen, Joe, you know what? It's been an honor. It's been great chatting with you. If people do want to know more, where can they get a hold of you?
I would say there's a couple different ways. Let me give you the simple one. Go to businessincubatorcommunity.com. I have a Facebook group there. You can join there. You can engage me in a chat conversation there. And if it makes sense, let me buy you an hour of my time. I'll send you a link. We can get on my calendar.
Right.
But businessincubatorcommunity.com.
Okay. Perfect. And I've got other links for you as well, so I'll put them on the website. So, like I said, Joe, thank you very much. Listeners, before we wrap this up, I want to thank you for allowing Joe into your world. I hope you got some education, which, if you didn't, you weren't listening. And I hope you got some inspiration to get out there and do your thing. And as always, you know what, if you're enjoying what we're doing, hit that subscribe button. I'm looking forward to going on this journey with you. And as always, you know what? I'm going to wrap it up with our golden nugget for the week. So you've heard me say before that, entrepreneurs are cut from a different cloth, and we have hopes and dreams and visions that most people don't have when it comes to starting your own business. Entrepreneurs are, very passionate people. And when we get a business idea, you're excited about it and you want to share it. And so you start talking to different people and you get responses like, oh, that's nice. Or are you sure you can make money doing that? Or, that market is oversaturated, or my favorite, you don't know anything about business. And you come away a little frustrated and a little deflated because they didn't share your level of enthusiasm. And it seems like they don't support you. The truth is, it's not that they don't support you. It's that they aren't wired like you are, and they want you to take what they consider the safe path, the path they know, the path of least resistance, because they feel that's the right way to go. So the next time you feel like sharing your ideas with anybody who will listen, I want you to keep this in mind. Bees don't waste their time explaining to flies that honey tastes better than shit. So the next time you feel like sharing your ideas, go out and find yourself a group of bees and get out there and continue becoming that legend you know you're destined to be. That's a wrap. Until next time, everybody, take care.